We're now going to hear from Mele Tupou, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Justice in Tonga. She, like, as I said, almost everyone else, or everyone else, is qualified in a number of jurisdictions and has held a number of different positions, particularly both at the University of the South Pacific and in the government of Tonga. So, welcome. Do you want to stay here, or you want to come over here? Yep.
A big malo elele to all of you. That's hello in my language, Tongan language. And I know for most of you, you're probably wondering where Tonga is. And just to take it from where Kessie left off, Tonga is a tiny little full stop on the world map. And we have a population of about almost 100,000, and we are actually comprised of small island groups, and our people, we are known as the friendly islands, in most friendliest island in the world. So I guess that's what I need to bring to the forum. And you may also be wondering why, what am I going to talk about? And when I first got the invitation from Petra, thank you very much for this opportunity, I jump on it because firstly, we don't have arbitration laws in Tonga, and it's an area where, as Kessie has mentioned, it's something that we need to expand to. And integration is a very it's a it word in our region, because it's an inevitable situation for us. We have to work together. Collaboration is effective life, and nationalism is just a mindset for us. So we as the small island states need to work together, need to hold hand to pull ourselves out of the situation that we are in, which is the harsh reality of climate change and all those very expensive words UN like to use. Now, for the purpose of my little short speech today, I'll be sharing just some very brief issues that we have actually in Tonga face with integration. The need for integration is clear enough for small island communities lacking in, as Kessie have mentioned, market size and political clout. The realities, though, are the long distances and thin routes, high costs, and the absence of complementaries, which makes it difficult to overcome the inclination to think and act nationally. There are some obvious successes in regional integration, including the University of the South Pacific, the Fisheries Body of Foreign Fisheries Agency, and Secretariat of the Pacific Community. At the subgroup levels, the examples of parties to the Nauru Agreement in empowering its membership vis-a-vis the distant fishing water nations, and of Melanesian Spearhead Group in the area of trade, including labor mobility, are worthy of note. A number of national assessment reports, country reports in the Pacific, support the idea of strengthening sub-regional or subgrouping approaches in the Pacific. And I appeal here to other similar regions that we have in around the world, like the Caribbean, and I'm not really familiar with the issues that you have, but I believe I have a firm belief that we share the common issues as small island developing states. And we all know that as small islands, we tend to concentrate our efforts and in building and strengthening the institutions of our countries. So we or I would like to hear and to learn from some of the experiences other countries and other regions have had with integration and more broadly arbitration. On the other hand, the overall lack of implementation of regional agreements and decisions suggest that something is not quite right in terms of what needs improving. And one country did identify in its regional cooperation as an area where the Pacific was lacking behind. So there's a lot of discussions around signing agreements, but signing an agreement is one thing, implementing it is another. And most of the times there's no funding available to help these countries implement the initiatives that they've agreed to. So an example is transport, which was identified as an area of most needed in regional integration. It was identified as one where regional cooperation has not always worked. Another country, Pacific Islands, says that there are not clear linkages between regional and national development frameworks, and attempt to minimize challenges and for sustainable development include discussing and establishing international frameworks, such as Samoa Pathway, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Istanbul Plan of Action for Least Developed Countries, and so forth. These frameworks are expected to garner support from the international community towards small island developing states' sustainable development needs. But these frameworks do not necessarily have dedicated funding for implementing all the things being asked in the framework. At the end of the day, they are just frameworks. It is really about national governments localizing the goals and working with their wide array of partners to achieve some of these sustainable needs. Now, given the unique and particular vulnerabilities of small island developing states, Kessie has mentioned some like small size, limited negotiating capacity and remoteness from markets. We recognize that efforts are needed to support our further integration regionally and between the regions and in world markets. With this in mind, we strongly support the efforts of small island developing states to, firstly, to encourage their successful engagement in trade and economic agreements, taking into consideration existing special and differential treatment provisions as appropriate, and taking note of the work conducted to date under the work program on small economies of the World Trade Organization. Secondly, we strongly support small island developing states to obtain technical assistance through trade-related assistance mechanisms and other programs to strengthen our capacity to effectively participate in the multilateral trading system, including with respect to explaining trade rules and disciplines, negotiating and implementing trade agreements, and formulating and administering coherent trade policies with a view to improving trade competitiveness as well as development and growth prospect. These things may be taken for granted in most of your jurisdiction and developed countries, but for us, it's our reality. Not only that, need to support small island states to assess the implications and mitigate the impact of non-tariff barriers to their market access opportunities through inter alia appropriate technical assistance and the implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement of the WTO, and to develop and strengthen partnerships to enhance the participation of small island developing states in the international trade in goods and services, build their productive capacities, and address the supply side constraints. In light of the similarities and common needs, the Pacific, including Tonga, can forge a partnership so as to monitor progress and that addressing vulnerability through regional integration. It is the only useful means towards overcoming our size, our structural and capacity constraints. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mele.